Yo, never mind the bullshit. What's cracking, Goons? Your big homie Boppa just took about a 2, maybe 3 hour nap. Had to rejuvenate. Spent a whole long night posting videos, posting shorts. We all saw it on my YouTube timeline. We all saw it on my Twitter. So had to take me a quick nap, probably about around between 11 to like 11:1 ish to about 4 o'clock, 4:30 to be exact. But I wanted to add on to the previous video, and I wanted to make sure that my thoughts were more analytical for this go round right here. My favorites of all time yet again, but we're gonna do them a little bit faster, and at the same time we're gonna be a little bit more descriptive. So really quickly, like Yagami, favorite character of all time. I don't care if it's films, movies, music. My favorite character of all time, because he was a master strategist, he was intelligent, he was educated. Hold on. Summertime, hold on. He was a master strategist, he was intelligent, he had a very high IQ, he was academically inclined, he did a lot of research on his craft as far as like being able to study for becoming a detective. His investigative skills were very at work. So, like Yagami, favorite character of all time. And I'll bring it back full circle at the very end of this video why I chose most of these topics. Now, Bugs Bunny, favorite character of all time, tied with like Yagami, but more so in a close second. Bugs Bunny was very witty. He was a winner. He was a champion. He was an American, but he never lost any type of battle. He never lost any type of competition. He was a winner, and he was for America, but he was a winner. Alexander the Great, favorite historical figure, period. I don't care if it's black, white, Middle Eastern, Hispanic, America, China, what nationality, what language, what religion. I have my personal biases about that, but didn't matter. Alexander the Great led men. Alexander the Great was very confident. He was a leader. He was bold. He had a very strong, quiet manliness about him, and he knew how to dominate and handle situations. Malcolm X, favorite black historical figure of all time. Very well read, very political, very analytical, a lot of focus and foresight in what he did. The Temptations, Papa Was a Rolling Stone. That song right there, I believe I first heard it when I was a teenager, maybe about between the ages of 13 to 16 years old. That song right there, for me, identifies narcissism. It identifies a few other things as well, like promiscuity, or things like not being attached, or discardment, or coming and going, or whatever it may be. But now, Ed, and Eddie, favorite cartoon of all time. That song was, Ed, and Eddie, favorite cartoon of all time. That show in particular, specifically, showed you and talked about when kids are young, how they can be mischievous, how they can be juvenile delinquents, and when the parents aren't around, they get into trouble, and kids basically, in some cases, run their household. I know that was the case for me when I was at that age. And Ed, and Eddie debuted in 99, and I was born in 95. Moving right along. Training Day, favorite film of all time. It portrays some police corruption, but when you look at Alonzo Harris, he was a gangster, he was a blood, he was a drug dealer, he was a thief, he was a criminal, he did everything he had to do. He bypassed all the bullshit, he didn't allow anything in his circumference. When you looked at Alonzo Harris's neighborhood, it was very similar and reminiscent of this neighborhood. One way in, one way out. You know what I mean? It's like a cul-de-sac. And just to bring it full circle to the previous name on this list, or to the previous title on this list for the favorite cartoon of all time, Ed, and Eddie, they all lived in cul-de-sac. Now, favorite position of all time, dictatorship. I've always been drawn to totalitarianism, or utilitarianism, or dictatorships. I've always been drawn to people like Mussolini or Joseph Kony, or a few others who shouldn't be named, or who might not be named. But I always looked at myself as a leader, a natural-born leader, a natural-born king, somebody who could dominate and give orders forcibly through coercion or whatever other tactic or strategy available to get my point across, whatever it might have been. And I've been like that since a young man. Now, favorite serial killer of all time. We got to go back to the past lives video. My favorite serial killer of all time, I thought long and hard about this. Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer was my favorite serial killer because, first and foremost, I think he killed for about a good 20 years and he killed 17 people. So he almost killed 20 people and he killed for 20 years. Now, I referenced Jeffrey Dahmer, me and him having a similar life or a similar, or me having to actually have lived Jeffrey Dahmer's life. Because for one, he was born May 21, I was born May 29. We were both born in the 20th century, the 1900s. He was born in 1960. I was born in 1995. And there's a lot more comparisons than that. A little bit, some differences, but a lot more comparisons than that. The glasses, we look exactly the same in the face. And this goes the same for Ezekiel and Nikolai Machiavelli. But bring it back to Jeffrey Dahmer, we kind of have like the same build. A little bit of a gut, but kind of a six-pack, big body, big biceps, big forearms, kind of tall, 5'10", 5'11". So Jeffrey Dahmer really was me. Trust me, I looked it up. I've done my research. Now, Lex Luthor, favorite villain of all time. Somebody who really emphasized brain power over other people. Somebody who could exercise foresight or exercise formlessness. Or somebody who had money and was able to enhance those previously mentioned qualities. Now, Harley Quinn, bringing it to me now. Not that I'm Harley Quinn, but other people are Harley Quinn. I wrote Harley Quinn when I was living at the extended stay. It's a very expensive hotel, so it was kind of comfortable, kind of leisurely. But I got tired of dealing with certain women. I got tired of dealing with certain bitches. It's not like I was being picked on, to be real with you, but I got tired of it. So my chauvinistic side naturally came out and wrote that song, and it's very timeless. Now I could take that song and apply it to a few men because this song is not about men versus women. It's not about manhood versus feminism. It's a lot more timeless than that. And I think human beings have kind of evolved past manhood versus feminism or man versus women. It's really just me viewing women in a chauvinistic way or viewing some men in a weak type of way to where it's like, listen, you're only here to be abused and nothing more. I don't want you popping in and out of my life. Every time you're here, you try to come up with some type of lie or some type of trick to make yourself seem more attuned to what's going on than what it actually is when I flat out dominate you. You know what I mean? So it's a chauvinistic attitude, but it's really a practical realism or an intense realistic attitude at the same time. And my favorite album of all time that I've ever dropped was Bully Zone. Now, Bully Zone, when I dropped that album, I was in a very comfortable space. I was living by myself, had very few people popping in and out, had no features on that record, and it was strictly me. It was me, Boppa. It was a country rap. It was a country rap record, and it was a record that did very well analytically, very well numerically, and very well statistically, and it actually got me a lot of money. I think the album that got me the most money up until this point was Goonjock, the Goonjock EP, another album that was my favorite. But Bully Zone is my favorite of all time. Now, Tungus, listen. This list right here, bringing it back to like Yagami, this entire list really indicates and symbolizes who I am, Boppa. Now, some people would like to sort of cross the line and call me Bryce, and I have no problem with the name Bryce. But remember when I gave you that long list of attributes of what Boppa means and that long list of names? All that is the crystallization of who I am, from the names to the attributes to the characteristics to the power to all that. It's a crystallization, trust me. It's a crystallization of who I am, Boppa. So Bryce means Boppa. Trust me. It's me as my most evolved self, my most powerful self, my strongest self, my most dominant self. So, and I told you guys before, maybe about several months ago, when I was wearing that red t-shirt with the black tank top underneath it and the gold chain and the silver glasses. Now we rocking gold. But I told you guys then that Boppa, when you call me Boppa, it means King Bryce Johnson, King Bryce Anthony, King Bryce Anthony Johnson, King Boppa, so on and so forth. But I've collected all my names: Noah Wisdom, the Free Thinker, Joe King, Blaze Jeremiah, X. I wanted to collect every single piece of myself so that I could be at my fullest, my fullest physically, my fullest unemotionally, and my fullest psychologically, being 110% on point. It's Boppa. If you would compare it to a character, it's kind of like Perfect Cell. Now, like Yagami, when I was having a conversation with one of my friends, one of my neighbors earlier today, and I said, what's my favorite character of all time that would define me regardless of music, films, cartoons, genre, race, whatever it may be, whatever category you can think of or name. And I said, like Yagami. And like Yagami is a malignant narcissist. And I've come to the conclusion that yes, I am a malignant narcissist because let me tell you guys the truth. About to cut the video off right here because we already at 10 minutes and 48 seconds. But I have narcissistic personality disorder. I have antisocial personality disorder. That is narcissism and psychopathy. And I'm also very Machiavellianistic. All that means malignant narcissist. Now, some people will argue that malignant narcissist is only narcissism and psychopathy with some Machiavellianism, but I possess all three dark triad traits very strongly, very boldly. And I believe I was this way since I was a young man. As I mentioned before in a previous video, when I was 13 years old in the 8th grade wrestling for Neptune Middle School, all those matches were fights. And I lost maybe one or two, maybe three, but we had 15 matches. So if I lost one, that means I had 14 wins. If I lost two, 13 wins. And if I lost three, 12 wins. The point that I'm making is that I was well above 500. Hold on. Was always athletically inclined as well as academically inclined. But that just brings it back to my malignant narcissism. I do not like people fronting as if they can, make their minds up or switch their minds from a submissive person to being somebody dominant in my presence because they want to look a certain type of way to the world. I'm very dominant. I dominate people outright, and I can be nice but not submissive or weak. We need to make that a clear distinction. Toon Goons, tap in. Janice, Abyss, and Ethan, see you soon. Gangsta Pictures, we in the building. King Gangsta Pictures, Boppa. All my soldiers, ride out, salute. 100, we out this motherfucker. For real.